Most businesses never make it past the first 2 years. Fewer even still make it beyond a single location. But Washrite has done both and has gone on to become New Zealand's largest exterior cleaning franchise. Today, I'm sitting down with the man behind it all, Mr. Troy Hillard. Now, we're going to talk about a few things. The early days, some of the risks, some of the mistakes, and some of the breakthroughs from a simple cleaning business to the national franchise brand. So if you've ever thought about running your own franchise, or you've been curious what it really takes to scale an idea into something much bigger, this conversation is for you. Welcome to the Right Conversation. Welcome.
Cheers.
All right, so we'll just jump straight into it and skip the small talk. First question I've got here, and I think a few people will be dying to know this, is what sparked the idea for Washrite?
For me, I wanted to start a business that I could franchise. So it was the franchise idea to have a franchise network, and then it was about finding an industry that I could franchise. And then I'd done my research, found the exterior cleaning, so house and roof washing and commercial building washing, and I quickly realised that it had large enough margins to help start the business. The idea of the business was always to be multi-branded, but I needed that first brand to have large margins to cash flow the following brands to come.
Okay, you've mentioned large margins a couple of times. It might seem obvious, but why is that important?
Cash flow. So obviously larger margins can potentially mean larger profits, and then those profits get reinvested back in the business to grow the business and then to grow other brands.
And how do you find, if you're doing due diligence and looking into an area that you want to franchise, what are some of the resources or places you go to find out if it's got margin?
The best one is to actually use the service. So like I did, I actually got 3 of my competitors around to wash some houses that I owned, and then I quickly realised how much they'll charge me, what they're actually doing, how long it took, what chemicals, what equipment they used, and then just reverse engineered it back from there. So I knew how long they were at my house for because I was there watching them. I knew roughly how much they were getting paid because I could find comparable jobs online for house washing technicians paying that $30 an hour. So I basically reverse engineered what I got charged as a customer to what my cost would be as a business owner.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
Nothing like real world, data and numbers.
Yeah, exactly.
What did the first year actually look like in terms of your workload, some of the risks and sacrifices?
The first year was basically myself on the tools full time. So I started from day one, I started very different to most. So day one, I started with an employee, a workshop, and 2 vehicles. So, and then it was pretty much to put myself under enough pressure to pay payroll, to pay the rent, to pay the rates and the bills on the workshop to get out there and find the work. So first year was literally out there hustling 7 days a week. I also put a rule upon myself that I wasn't allowed to be home between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. So from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. I had to have been out of the house doing something to grow the business. So 6 a.m. to 7:30 I was dropping flyers in letterboxes. From 7:30 to 4 I was usually out working, washing houses and roofs. And then from basically 4 to 6 or 4 to 8 I'd be out there either doing quotes, networking groups, door knocking real estate agents, property managers, facility managers to help grow that business.
Okay.
And that was probably my first 18 months realistically.
Wow. So how did you know Washrite was ready to franchise?
I didn't, to be honest. I just jumped into it. I knew I wanted to franchise. I then found the right first franchisee and then just started making the moves from there. So it's like anything in life, there's never the right time, there's never the perfect time, there's never the time that you know that now is the time. It's just you got to take action. Okay. And make sure it happens.
Knowing what you know now about franchising, would you say because I agree with what you're saying wholeheartedly, sometimes you just have no choice, you just need to just send it. Is there more ideal conditions, or is there a time where you would not be ready?
Yes and no. So, in an ideal world, you would have a lot more cash behind you than I did.
Sure.
As I said, I had very little cash when I first started the business. I didn't actually pay myself a single wage until about 18 months into the business. So having the cash behind you, but also having the right team behind you. So accountants, lawyers, advisors, having that behind you before you start would be ideal where I didn't. I literally had to build that support team behind me as I went.
Okay, and is that sort of, we talked about this the other day around not just selling a franchise to someone who's just moved into the city or moved into the country, they need to spend some couple years in a city. Is it to get established, build some of those connections?
Yeah, definitely. You know, I'm not, obviously I live in New Zealand, but I'm not a New Zealander. So as I'm from Australia, Australia has their way of doing things, New Zealand has their way of doing things. And you can't expect to come into a country and or a city and think that the entire country or city is going to change to do it your way. You know, you have to take on the attitudes, the environment that you're in, or you're just not going to be accepted or grow within that city.
Adaptability.
Exactly, yep.
Okay, and what were some of the biggest challenges with building a franchise network from scratch, going from small business, sole operator, to now what it is now?
The biggest thing, the two biggest things is number one, credibility, not just around me, but around the brand and the name. So to give you an example, one of the companies that I got to come wash my house was the largest operator in New Zealand. They've been going 30 odd years. They have 30 years of customers. They have 30 years of brand recognition. They have 30 years ahead of us. Today we're probably 2 or 3 times bigger than them, but we had to overcome that head start that they've had. And for us, it was just working 7 days a week, chipping away at every aspect of the business to catch up to them and then surpass them.
Okay, so to summarise that, the biggest challenge was coming into a hunting ground, so to speak, where there's already a bigger lion that's eating up most of the game.
Yeah, we came into an established market. You know, there was already established players. Those players had established contracts and customers, and we had to start from scratch and grow from there.
Okay. And that starting from scratch and building that reputation, actually, we'll maybe talk about reputation a little bit later on. When you look back through that season, what were some of the mistakes that taught you the most?
Probably the biggest one would be around our pricing.
Okay.
So originally in the early days, that we went in fairly cheap on some work just to get the work, and our thought pattern was if we get the customer today, we can adjust our prices over the years to get it where we want to be. We quickly realised, or probably not quick enough, realised that we were obtaining low value customers who were only price driven instead of value driven. Where today we're 100% different, where we're 100% chasing the customers who are value driven, not price driven.
Okay. And so you find it's a better quality customer?
Yes, a lot better.
Well, how would you define quality in that respect?
First of all, the customer appreciates the service. They appreciate the quality behind the service. And then they appreciate the care and detail taken on their largest asset, which is usually their home. What we found is the customer who nickel and dimes you on price is always the customer who's going to whinge the most, cry the most, expect the most for paying the least. And we just don't want that customer.
What do you think grows that mindset?
I think it comes around that the person who has the least is just, their mentality is around, I've got to retain every single cent that I can get, and they've just got a negative mindset around spending. Where I think that the customer who's time poor but maybe cash rich appreciates someone buying their time back. They would prefer to pay $600 or $700 to have their house washed, not have to worry about it, not have to worry about stuff being damaged because they're a reputable company. They just pay the money, don't worry about it, and their largest asset, which could be $1 million to $5 million, is well looked after. And they appreciate just the aspect of buying back their time. So,
and would you say there's also a bit more margin in that space, that if it is a mistake, because mistakes do happen, that you're obviously not going to then charge them to come out, and you can wear that cost a little bit? You're more willing to be able to come back and...
Yes, I don't think the value of the job has anything to do with your returning. For us, it's about reputation. So we'll always return if there's ever an issue.
Sure.
We will always return regardless of what the price or the margin on that job is. But for us, we find that the customers who are prepared to pay a decent price are the customer that will have you back every year. They're the customer who's going to refer you. They're the customer who's going to lead to other work. And then they're the customers that we invest more into.
Naturally.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Reciprocal.
Yeah,
Scratch
definitely.
my back, scratch your back.
Yeah, and business is all about relationships, where I think the so-called cheaper customer is a very transactional business dealing, where it's, hey, I will pay you $200 to wash my house, no more, and once I pay you, I'm begrudgingly going to pay you. Where I've found that the higher value customers are more along the lines of, hey, here's the $500 to wash my house, done a great job, can you rebook me in for next year? But what other services do you offer? And then you start to get to know the customer, and that customer might own a business that then you could use. And those relationships just build time and time and time again, where a lot of our customers have been customers since 2015.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember your first customer?
Yeah, I do. There was a house wash that took 7 hours to wash, where today it's an hour and a half job.
Why is that? Just tools and experience?
Yeah, experience is the biggest one. Yeah. or lack of. Literally, lack of experience was the biggest one. I still remember the first job, and it was a shocker.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Took way too long. Made no money out of that one. None.
You learnt lots, though.
Yeah, learned a lot.
Joys of starting anything new. Well, what were some of the biggest financial or personal risks that you took in those early days?
Well, I had everything on the line.
Like everything?
Everything, literally. As I said, I took not a single paycheck from the business for 18 months. I was drawing down an equity facility on my mortgage I had at the time to live. So literally everything was on the line. And that sounds bad, but I don't think I would have succeeded as fast if I didn't have everything on the line. You know, there was no half in or half out. It was 100%. So every morning at 5:30 when my alarm went off, I had to get up and go out and make this thing work. There was no backup there. And for me and my personality, I think that was the best option.
Okay, so you think it differs depending on the person, whether you burn
totally.
your boats or not?
Yeah, totally. A lot of people can't work, let alone thrive under stress. But for me, it just took away all options. I didn't have an option to turn left or right. I had to go straight. And it just made everything very simple. I had to keep on moving forward, one step after the other. So yeah, that was for me the best option.
How do you think that's paid off for you?
I think it's still paying off today. It doesn't matter, us starting new franchise brands, us investing in other businesses. Everything's always 100% in. Just like we started in Australia in January this year. I think we first flew over in January, done all the legalities, bank accounts, tax paperwork, and fast forward today, 10 months later, we've already got 10 franchises on the road. So even though we're not 100% on the line financially anymore, that's kind of taken care of now, but we still go 100% in. We don't mess about. We don't second guess anything. We make a decision, we move forward. Sometimes it's the wrong decision, but if it is, we make another decision and keep on moving forward.
Sure, keep moving.
Yeah.
I've heard that actually. It's good advice in business is the winners are generally the ones who value speed.
Yeah, and just you got to take action. Sometimes it's not always the right action, but you got to take action and then reassess and take another action. And it still happens today.
Okay. What was some of the things... what's one thing actually about franchising that you wish someone had told you earlier? Could be positive, could be negative.
Yep, probably both positive and negative.
Okay.
Probably the negative is that you are dealing with people's personalities. And it sounds, pretty expected, but, we've got, let's say, just under 300 franchisees. This is 300 different personalities, let alone their wives and their kids that I deal with. And a good proportion of those franchisees think that I'm the oracle to all their problems. Now, a lot of their problems I am from a business point of view, and our team here at head office can help fix or solve or mitigate some of their problems, and that's what we do. But the big negative is, you get the phone call, come along saying, I can't work because my wife's cheating on me, or my kids got expelled from school, or all these personal problems where I'm like, hey, these are a you problem and not a me problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've got my own personal problems to deal with. I'll deal with mine if you deal with yours. That's probably the thing I struggle with the most, is that, you know, I'm very at arm's length from the franchisees in regards to my personal problems, that when and if I have them, I make sure that they never know about them. It never impacts them. It's not fair for me to pass my problems on to them. And then when they pass their problems on to me, it could be that their cat's having kittens to the feral cat down the road and they want me to deal with it. You know what I mean?
Is that a true story?
Yeah, I've had all types. I've had, you know, husbands cheating on wives, wives cheating on husbands. I've had, you know, everything you can imagine, you know what I mean? And I stay out of their personal life as much as possible. That's probably the hard bit, I find, is just trying to juggle everyone's different personal problems and personalities. Sure. But it's also the positive thing, you know, when you've dealt with a franchisee for 3, 4, 5, 10 years, and they're getting married, you know, and you get an invitation to their wedding. You know what I mean?
What do you do about that?
We go, you know, definitely. We go and celebrate with them.
Sure.
You know, they're having kids, or their kids are having kids, and all these positive things that happen in their life, and they want to share them with you. So that's the great thing, and that's why you got to juggle. You know, you can't just have the positives without the negatives.
That's fair.
You know, that's the juggling balance of it, and seeing our franchisees, you know, succeed. You know, I shared a message with you the other day about a franchisee who's been with us 14, 15 months. He's in the last 3 months, he's earned more money than he did all of last year. And then he's just gone out and paid cash for his dream car, which is a new Mustang. You know what I mean? They're the stories that, you know, are heartwarming, that our business is helping this guy meet one of his goals, which is buying a new Mustang. Not my favourite car, but it's his. Yeah, so that's probably the positive and the negative all in one.
It's dealing with people and dealing with people.
Exactly.
It comes with the positives and the negatives.
It is.
Yeah, that's. I mean, you did say it before. Business is all about relationships.
It is. Yep. Good and bad.
Good and bad. I like that. Now, if you were starting Wash Right again today,
Yep.
You don't have everything you have now.
Yep.
What would you do differently, knowing what you know?
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. Yeah, nothing. As I said, we started the business with what, $1,800, $2,000, and we cash rolled everything. Even till today, we don't have debt facilities. We don't have big loans. You know, our total financial exposure is about 2 days worth of revenue. So we're in a pretty good place from a business point of view. Yeah, I wouldn't change a lot more. There's a couple of things I would change along the way.
Yeah.
You know, there's the odd franchisee that you probably shouldn't have sold the franchise to. You know, odd situation I didn't deal with the way I probably would have dealt with it today. But yeah, overall, in the scheme of things, I wouldn't change a lot, if anything.
Okay, interesting. And we talked a bit earlier about you remembering your first customer.
Yep.
Do you remember your first franchise sale?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, 100%. Tim and Bailey Beale, I classify them as great friends. On paper, they're probably not someone I would sell a franchise to today if I just looked at who they are on paper back then. But they are some of the best franchisees we've ever had. They've done financially extremely well. They're just great people. I know them very well on a personal basis, all the way through to, you know, their daughter and problems they have with their daughter as she's grown up. But yeah, some of the best people I've ever met.
Are they still with Wash Right?
Still with Wash Right today.
So that's, wow, over,
Yep.
10 years.
Yeah.
9 years. 10 years next year.
Yeah, definitely. And this is a couple that went from I don't mind, I think I say this, but a crappy little rental in Trentham Upper Hutt to today they own a beach house at Castle Point. They've got a nice house in Masterton. They live a comfortable life. And it's all because of their hard work. And it's been great to see them progress through life and get the great things that their business is able to give them.
It's really neat to hear you point that out, that it's because of their hard work, because I think it's very clear that you can't just buy into a business and be like, oh, that business is doing really well for them, therefore it will just do well for me. They still had to show up.
Of course, yeah. A franchise is, I look at a franchise as you're buying a roadmap that has all the shortcuts on it. Okay. It also has the long way, the hard way, and the scenic way on the same map. and it's up to the franchisee which path they take. They can take the scenic route that might take longer. They can take the shortcut and get the benefits quicker, or they can take the hard way. It's totally up to them, but they have to walk the path. We can't walk it for them.
It's their choice. Their freedom, really.
It is
something you
exactly.
stand for.
Yep.
How has this business changed you as a person?
Oh, depends who you ask.
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
it definitely depends. A little bit less hair. Probably mellowed out, believe it or not, a little bit.
I believe that.
Over time. I'm not sure if that's the business or the kids.
Could be both.
Or both.
Maybe Sarah.
Yeah, definitely Sarah, I think. Definitely mellowed out. Definitely adjusted my perspective on a lot of things from a next week, next month to a next year, next decade type of outlook. I don't particularly worry so much about next week or next month anymore for a couple of different reasons. Probably, from a financial point of view, I don't have to worry about next week or next month. Everything I do these days is more of a long-term, long-game type of scenario. And I think that helps from a business point as well, so you don't make irrational decisions.
Sure.
But that's probably the biggest thing, is my perspective on a lot of things have changed to more of a long-term focus.
Sustainability.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Back to some of the franchises. You mentioned Tim and Bailey, how they went from the crappy rental, and now they've got the beach house, the toys, the boat, the freedom. Can you tell me, is there been any other highlight transformations within people or franchise owners? Yeah,
definitely. We've got a couple of franchisees who, before they purchased their franchise, and especially when they were younger, got into trouble. They could have been 16, 17, stealing a car, drink driving, or just very basic stuff that they were young and they're dumb. And, they've purchased their franchise, and there's been a massive growth within them in every aspect, from people, fathers, a lot of these people now are actually parents now, to very successful business owners. I've got one in the South Island. It's a father and son franchisee. When they brought the franchise, the father had all the business experience, very smart, very switched on, great operator. The son, had a bit of a troubled adolescence, and then got involved in the industry, and they teamed up to buy the franchise. And these days, the son is just as accomplished as a business owner as the father. He's now a father himself, and that type of transition has been great to see. These people have brought their business, they've matured as people, they've matured as a family, and now they've got a very successful business that employs, 5, 6, 7 people under them.
So it's really the definition of a family-owned business when I hear that sort of story.
Yeah, well, that franchise is still today owned by the father and son. The son has 2 of his own sons as well, and a great partner that supports him. And then they have their team of staff below them. And, the father and son still run the business hand in hand every day.
Because I think quite often when people look at business, right, the biggest motivator of most people, it's profit. It's not, the whole goal of a business to make profit. I think sometimes people get lost, and the reason why we're making money is quite often, it's to build relationships, it's to enjoy life. And so it's really refreshing to hear that this business, not because it's just the money, but it's the bonding over the problems. Dad, teach me this. How do I do this? And the son's growing, and I'm sure that brings so much fulfillment to their father. Yeah,
definitely. And I think the successful business gives you options. So that franchise, for example, as they're growing and succeeding and finances allow, they then have the option: do I want to work this weekend or do I not? Do I want to take my kids away for the weekend or do I not? A successful business, the profit's great, the money's great, but the profit and the money just gives you options. And then you get to choose, do I want to do this or do I not want to do that there? And that's the big thing about being involved in a successful business versus being an employee. Most employees don't have the option to make a lot of decisions. They have to turn up when they're told to. They finish when they're told to. They complete tasks when they're told to. Where the business owner books jobs and turns up when they decide. They do work on days that they decide. Now, their decisions have repercussions. If they decide not to work, the repercussion is they don't earn any money. Where So it's all about just options and then having the freedom to make those choices.
So it's a case of you have the freedom, but you're also not free from the consequences of those choices.
Exactly.
And would you prefer to have a business where you're making lots of money, but you don't have that freedom because you can't leave the business?
Yep.
Or would you rather make less money, considerably less money, but you have that freedom? Enough money to still get by.
I don't think these days you can have a business that makes a lot of money and not have the freedom to do what you want, because to make lots of money, I think, in most businesses that are legal, unless you're selling drugs, you need to have a decent team around you.
Sure.
And that decent team is what allows you, to make choices and maybe not work today. Or, for me, I spend a lot of time in Australia with our franchises over there. What allows me to travel over to Australia for 1 or 2 weeks at a time is I still have the team back here, keeping the ship going. So, but for me, I would say the perfect scenario is both, making great money, but still having the freedom. I think if you don't have the freedom to make choices, you will not be in that business for long.
Sure. It's a matter of time before you're out.
Correct.
Burn out.
Yeah, well, it just controls your life. And then once it controls your life, that's when your family starts falling apart and, you have bigger dramas on your hands.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's, again, all about relationships. And once those relationships start hurting, you've got to make a change. How many Wash Right franchises are currently operating today?
Wash Right, there's 46.
46.
46
including Australia?
Yep, 46 franchises. There's about 69 franchisees within those franchises, and there's 132 trucks on the road.
How is there more franchisees than franchises? Is it husband and wife?
Yeah, so you might have, let's say, that franchise we spoke about in the South Island, father and son. That's one franchise.
Sure.
And then there's 2 franchisees, 2 people that own that franchise. So the franchise is the business unit. The franchisees are the people that own that business unit.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, so we've got quite a few franchise owners and franchisees. Now, you've expanded to Australia, started this year. I must say it's been quite inspiring to be here last year. Here you go, well, we really want to go to Australia. I think that'd be pretty cool, Tim. And then not a couple months later, you're like, I'm going to go check it out. And then another couple months later, got our first franchise owner up. And then a couple months later, now we're at 10.
Yep.
That's really awesome to watch, that speed you were talking about.
Yep.
Now, are there any countries you do not want to go to?
Not really. I haven't really thought about it. South Korea might be off the list. China might be off the list. Anywhere where I can get locked up for saying the wrong thing, because I do say the wrong thing a lot.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe not the wrong thing, just some people don't agree with it.
Yeah, not very PC.
Yeah.
Yep.
Some people don't value freedom like you do. All right. Well, so basically that means any other country where you have freedom of speech, you'd be keen to open up a franchise?
Yeah, pretty much. I think we'll stay with Australia for the next probably 2 years at least, I think.
Yep.
And then probably the next step maybe Canada. Already got some interest / contacts in Canada.
Is that why you're interested in Canada? Because the people are there?
Yeah, definitely. It's all about good people. Having that first franchise that you can trust and rely upon.
Yep.
And then having someone that I guess works for us that can be based there.
Sure,
having
it's a long flight.
Yeah, exactly. Having that man on the ground. And then just around the whole logistics side of it, so our core provider for our equipment, BE, they're actually a Canadian company. They're probably by far the largest supplier across North America as well. So just having access to the equipment at the rates that we get will make it very easy for us to roll out across North America.
That'll be exciting.
Yeah, we've got to get there first.
Sure. Focus on Australia one.
Yeah, at least the next 2 years, Australia is probably the only focus for Wash Right.
There's still a lot of market over there to...
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah, totally. I think even though they're in Australia right now, we're probably the largest in regards to the network we have. I don't think any other company in Australia can service Queensland, New South Wales and Victoria. We still have got less than 1 point of the entire market in Australia, so we've still got a long way to go over there.
Oh, that's good. It's good. Lots of room to grow. Now, we did this a little bit yesterday on the other episode.
Yep.
So I want you to finish these sentences, and there's going to be a bit of true and false in here. The fastest way to fail as a franchise owner is?
not build relationships.
Okay.
And by that, I'll expand on that a little bit. So we can have, not so much with our wash rights, because the vast majority, if not every single wash right, is very successful. But with some of our other brands, we can have 2 franchisees in the same city, side by side, start at the same time, same equipment, same training, same everything. It's trained by the same person, and one person succeeds at 10 times the faster rate than the other one. And then the only difference is the franchisee, the person, their personality. And then when we dig deeper into that, the guy who succeeds at 10 times faster rate, he's the more outgoing one. He's the one that's out there talking to people, networking, building relationships, building contacts. Where the other guy is very withdrawn, quiet, humble, still do great work, workmanship's the same, but he's just not out there building relationships with people.
Okay.
And that's the only difference.
And that's just what will you get you the revenue, the growth from jobs?
Yeah. Yep. So the biggest factor to a franchisee not succeeding is probably going to be their personality, I think.
Okay.
And vice versa.
Sure. You can't scale a wash right, true or false?
Oh, false. You know, we are doing, what are we doing at the moment? We're probably doing, in New Zealand alone, probably about 26 million a year. Just washing exterior buildings.
What about, so that's the network as a whole.
Yep.
What about your individual franchise owner? They buy one truck. Can they scale it?
Yeah, definitely. So we have a couple of franchisees who are one man, one truck that consistently do over 35,000 a month, consistently. And if they don't do over 30,000 a month, there's a very clear reason why. AKA they've taken 2 weeks holiday. So yeah, definitely.
Is that gross profit or net?
No, total revenue.
Total revenue.
Total revenue. One man, one truck, 35,000 a month.
And how much does a truck cost if you can say this to build or to buy and set up? Ballpark.
25 grand just for the equipment, the build out, plus the cost of the truck. So, and you can buy a second-hand truck or brand new, but if they drop a truck to me to build, by the time they pick it up, there's about 25 grand into it. That's signage, fabrication, engineering, all the equipment, turnkey.
And that's what you do?
Yep, we build all the trucks here. Yep.
All your connections?
Yep. It's obviously in Australia, we have a facility there that builds them in Australia, but in New Zealand, all the trucks are just built out in the warehouse.
By the man himself?
Yeah, I still build them all, unfortunately. Yep.
Do you think you'll one day outsource that?
No. I guess it's a bit of a hobby that I like to do.
Okay.
You know, when Sarah and the kids are wearing me down, I just come to work on the weekend and turn the radio on and build trucks.
Cool. Well, it's good to have a bit of a hobby, and then the hobby is building a business at the same time.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
2 birds, 1 stone. All right. A successful franchise has these 3 qualities.
Successful franchise has these 3 qualities. First one, work ethic. You will get nowhere without that. By far, probably the biggest, most important thing. I think the second one is a supportive home life. You cannot underestimate a supportive partner, and you cannot underestimate the damage that an unsupportive partner can do as well. And I think the third one is just a positive attitude. Things don't always go right. It's not always sunshine and rainbows in New Zealand. Some days it's horrible and wet and cold, and it's either snow or rain, and you're still out working. But just having that positive attitude, because that positivity is picked up very quickly from everybody. Customers, staff, suppliers, is probably the biggest thing. So yeah, those 3 things: work ethic, supportive partner, if not household, and then just having a positive outlook.
Cool. All right. Most people think starting a business is about X, but it's really about...
Most people think starting a business is about money. It's not. As you know, we started this business with just over $1,800, and that's it. I think the biggest thing comes back to relationships. And for us, when we first started, a lot of our work came from the people we knew. They may have known us from different businesses or different scenarios, but they knew us and they trusted us and they liked us, so they supported us in this venture. And those people still support us today. So I think the business is all about relationships, first and foremost, and everyone thinks it's about money. There's a lot of people out there that have more money than you to start with, but it doesn't mean they're going to succeed.
Sure, I guess it's a marathon.
Exactly.
Money can run out.
Yep, definitely does.
All right, I'm not ready to buy a franchise if I'm ...
I think the first one is if you don't have your personal life squared away. You know, if your personal life is a dumpster fire, like if you and your wife or your partner are arguing all the time and your kids are unsettled, don't buy any business, let alone a franchise. And then if your personal finances are screwed up, if you don't have a consistent savings pattern, you don't have to have a lot of money saved, but if you can't manage the money you've got today, don't get into a business, because once you have to start having to put money away for taxes and workers' compensation and bills and rents and everything that business evolves, your lack of financial aptitude just gets magnified by the business and your problems get magnified even greater.
Okay, so business is a magnifier.
100% it is. Yep, 100% it is. Because not only a lot of the time that you will start owing money to the tax man, and then the tax man has powers that you would only ever dream about. Mm-hmm. And then what rolls downhill from there is just next level. So you want to have your personal life squared away and then your financial situation stable and consistent. Again, you don't have to have huge money, but it just needs to be stable and consistent.
Okay. Reputation is the currency of business, true or false?
Oh, true, 100%. And it comes back to relationships. You know what I mean? Obviously, you live in the same city as I do. 90% of people in this town think wash right or lawn right, they think of me. You know what I mean? And it just comes back down to that relationship that I've built with them, and they know who I am, what I stand for, and it's everything in business.
How can you build a good reputation?
It's time, and it's just consistency. The biggest thing is do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. And if anything happens that you can't, you need to communicate that with them before they communicate with you.
Yep.
Biggest thing. And things always go wrong. You can't always do what you say you were going to do. But when that happens, you need to pick up the phone and communicate it with them. Because that communication is appreciated more than you'd ever understand.
It's a good piece of advice there. Because sometimes, you might sometimes overextend yourself.
Yep.
That happens.
Yep.
If you don't communicate it, it looks double shady.
Exactly. Yep. Definitely.
Okay. Money is made in the repeat jobs rather than over one-off cleans.
Oh, totally. So I always talk about the 3 R's that you need in business, right? And this doesn't matter about if it's my business or any other business, that you need the 3 R's. You need repeat customers, you need repeat, regular, and referral customers. If you don't have those three, you're not going to grow. You know what I mean? And if you don't have those three, you keep on throwing money at advertising. Huge amounts of money to get new customers. Where for us, I think at the moment about 38% of all of our income comes from repeat, regular, or referrals. These are customers that have zero cost of acquisition now, because I've already paid the cost of acquisition when I first got them last year, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, or 10 years ago. And they keep coming back as annual customers. And what you'll find is a repeat customer is the only customer who's also a referral customer. Because no one's going to refer you to their friend if they haven't used you before. So you got to remember the 3 R's: repeat, regular, or referrals. Now in our business, a repeat customer is that high value customer who comes back every year to get their house washed. Very valuable to us. They're the ones that we love. A regular customer might be a commercial restaurant that we do a quarterly outside window clean. And then obviously referral is either one of the two that get referred by somebody else.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it was you that might have taught me this, actually. It was some of the cheapest marketing you'll do is over-delivering.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. And that same number one franchise we had, the very first one, he does 35 grand a month because he has a chip on his shoulder, but in a positive way, that he thinks he has to do such a good job that he never wants a customer to feel shortchanged. So he might get booked to do a house wash. He'll go do the house wash, but then he'll do the pathway wash. He won't say anything. He won't ask. He'll just do the pathway wash or the driveway wash or wash the quick fence. and then he'll just leave, and he only charges the customer for the house wash. And then over the years, that reputation, those referrals have built up that large. It's just work coming back and back and back. And I'll give you another great example. That same franchisee is off injured at the moment. He's hurt his shoulder and he's broken a rib. So he's off for about 6 weeks at the moment. As his customers call him, he explains to them, hey, unfortunately, I can't do your service for the next 6 weeks. And these customers are saying, fine, book us in January, February. So they're prepared to wait 6, 8, 10 weeks for him to recover just so he could wash their house, because the loyalty to him has been built up over the years because he's done so much work for free for these people that they're more than happy to wait.
Interesting. I think a lot of people, especially maybe those who haven't started a business or are quite early in business, maybe have had the wrong mindset in business, hear the word free and freak out. Maybe because they're not making a lot of money. I get it. But where do you stand on that, offering free work? I've just heard if you've got the job and you're getting paid, a little easier to give some free work. But let's say you don't have any customers. Would you still offer free work?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Look at it as an investment. Okay. So to give you a great example, last week in Sydney, we had a phone call from a guy who wanted a quote to wash his house. And then he told us the backstory, and the backstory was he was having his family around for a party. But it wasn't a normal type of party. This guy had some major illnesses, and he was hosting his own living wake. So instead of having a wake after he died, he was preparing to die the next 3 months, he wanted to have all his family around to have the party then and there.
Wow, that surely is a unique party.
Correct. So I got off the phone to him. I rang Sarah and said, hey, I'm going to go and call this guy back and see if we can do the job tomorrow. If we can do it tomorrow, I'll do everything for free. So I rang him back and I explained that, hey, if I can do your job tomorrow, I've got this new franchisee, I can bring him and I can train on your house and everything will be free of charge if we can do it tomorrow, because it's my last day in Australia. And he was great. We come around there, we cleaned his roof, cleaned his gutters, washed his house, washed his windows, done his driveway, cleaned the deck, spent the entire day there free of charge. He come out, thanked us, very appreciative, took our business card, had a little chat. That weekend we got 4 quote requests, all from his family members around Sydney, wanting jobs done. And they specifically said, no discounts, please.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So we gave, you've got to give to get.
Yeah.
Karma always comes back around. So for us, that's just another example of, you got to pay it forward. And don't stress it, it always comes back. And it's the cheapest form of advertising. For us, a house wash probably costs $20 to do, not including labour. So if you're new in business and you go and wash a house, it's going to cost you $20, $25 to wash that house. And then all you do is go, can you please leave me a Google review?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you put $25 in Google AdWords, you might get 4 or 5 clicks, and if you're very lucky, you may get a quote request. And when you're only converting 40, 50% of those quote requests, the chance of getting a job is pretty small.
Versus having that person out there who's referring you.
Correct.
And if they're a respected person in their family or their community, I don't even think
Correct.
You can't buy that.
No, but you're also building the relationship and the reputation.
I think as well, you spoke earlier, it's about the people. Same franchise owners, same location, same training, same tools. If one person is generous and it fills their cup to give, like just hearing you say that goes, man, that must be good for the soul. Knowing that this guy's going to die soon. Hey, we're doing something. We're giving him our version of a send-off. If that makes you feel good, I don't know, there's an energy about that that's going to radiate from you amongst your staff, amongst your team, versus the person who's now resentful that they have to be here. And how that shows up, maybe that person's still grateful. I don't know. Over the long term, I could see how that trajectory would affect the business.
And it comes back to having that positive attitude.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So, you got to give with positivity. And you got to understand that, these people pick up the vibe. If they pick up the vibe that you're given with a positive attitude versus you're given begrudgingly, their attitude back to you is going to be positive or begrudgingly back towards you.
Well, it's like, they say life comes from you.
Yep, exactly.
Life will be a mirror. Now, content. We'll finish on this, and if you have any questions for me, well, then we'll finish the segment. But obviously, when you first started, the content space was very different 10 years ago. What sort of changes have you seen over the time? What worked for you then, and what's working for you now?
So back when we first started, there was no content.
Okay.
Video was non-existent 10, 11 years ago. What worked for us was literally before and afters, taken, say, 10 photos, 5 befores, 5 afters, having them in a Facebook post and putting a catchy little post about what you've been doing all week, check out the before and afters, and then sharing that post across all the community groups. Now, we still do that to a small degree, but that worked very well 8 years ago. In that time, video has taken over. And not just video, but also, like, you got to understand, you got to have a strategy to the video. You know, you got to have the long form, but then you got to be able to have the shorts, because a lot of people capture their content, you know, it might be on the bus, while they're waiting for a doctor's appointment, you know, while the boss is not in the office, they're quickly scrolling on their phone. So you got to have the video content in both long form and short form, and they got to complement each other. And then, you know, just like you got to invest in it, you know, just like you know, we pay you know, all the devices, cameras, lights, this room. So you got to have a strategy towards your content and then invest in it. The same as you invest in Google AdWords or Facebook ads or newspaper and radio. For us, we've started to pull back our money off the newspaper and the radio, definitely, and the billboards. And we're starting to take that capital and invest it more into the content side, aka you and what we do today and what we do around here. So yeah, you got to be very purposeful about it. But 10 years ago, there was none.
Okay.
You know, there was very, very little. Email marketing was still a big thing 10 years ago. You know, we still do very, very well with email marketing, but that was, you know, the height of content back in those days.
Sure. Now, when I hear that as well, I think to a few things you said. It's the personality of the person who's the outgoing, who wants to talk and network and build relationships. Now, with the growth of social media and content, that same opportunity is now happening in a digital space. So if we had to describe the ideal franchise owner as someone who's generous, outgoing, has a positive attitude, you know, they have their affairs at home in order, would you also say it's true that they are the type of person who's comfortable to get on camera and speak and talk like they would in person?
Yeah, definitely. You know, you have to get out there and understand that you're representing your business, and your business needs to be everywhere. And online is just one of the places it needs to be. So just like you have to go to a networking group and meet people face to face, you know, sometimes you can't do that. So you need to put your face out in public and get people to understand who you are, what you do, how you do it, so they can connect with you. Because again, they're not going to build that relationship unless they can connect with you.
For sure, and I really see there's a massive opportunity. I think a lot of people either see or don't see is for anyone who already has even just a mild level of experience within content creation, and they want to start a business. They've got the work ethic, maybe they've got a little bit of capital to invest. Especially within the home services industry, because it's so full of the sort of the tradey type people, and from my experience, they're not the most eager to get on camera and speak. So you could just come in here and dominate that space. Yeah,
definitely. Well, you've been to our last couple of annual awards and our conferences, right? And look at the correlation between the winners and then the people who are proactive in their content creation. You know, the same people who are very active in their content creation are winning all the major awards. These are the guys that are, you know, doing the big numbers in revenue-wise. These are the guys that put multiple trucks on the road. And there's a very clear correlation between the guys who do the content and then the guys who are growing very fast to the guys who dabble in the content and grow medium and the guys who don't do any content and are growing at the slower rates. So there's a very clear correlation between content creation and then the growth of the business.
And what I see in that is I describe it as it's a willingness to participate. It's not always a case of they're the best at it. There's always room to grow in all areas. But they come up to me and they ask questions. They want to learn, they want to grow, and they try. And then they get better. And I've already started to see videos coming out since the conference going, they're listening. The same people are the ones who've taken it on board, they're talking on camera, and they're trying.
Positive attitude, taking action. It's pretty straightforward.
Mate, I can almost push it there. Is there any questions you have for me?
Not today, man.
Cool. Thanks for coming on.
Cheers.